If you're looking to dominate your opponent when pressed from behind, then this 5-minute breakdown's for you. Now, the modern game demands that players can play throughout 360 degrees, and the stats tell us that attacking players are pressed from behind over 60% of the time, with on the side and in front actually being the least frequent. Now, in these receiving scenarios, the best players, they're retaining the ball over 85% of the time. But how? Now, in an ideal world, players individually in possession, they'd always be able to receive in space and make any type of forward progressive action with the ball. However, we know and the stats tell us that from a defensive collective structure point of view, teams now block the middle, recover faster, restrict the spaces, faster and better than any other time in the history of the game. How does that impact in possession? Well, in possession, you can be pressed from one of 4 different scenarios. So you can be pressed from the front, from behind, from the side, or off what's known as the covering angle. And we'll break these down in individual videos. But for this specific video, we'll focus on those moments in games when players are pressed from behind. Now, to really simplify things, ideally players will be able to pass the way out of every solution. But when they're pressed from behind, there's going to be lots of moments in games when there's no free player, there's no one to connect to, there's no solution on the ball, so they have to stay on the ball under that pressure. Now, in those moments of pressure behind, they have 2 ways of outplaying their opponent individually. The first way is through first time turns. And the second way is once you've had that touch, you're then engaged in a 1v1 retaining scenario. So let's put scenario 1 under the microscope first. When you receive that pass from deep, there's 4 ways you can outplay your opponent, and they all rely on the same principles. Now imagine a straight line across your feet. The touch has got to go around the corner, so past that line, not too wide and not backwards. So wide enough to eliminate the opponent, but then not too far wide so the ball isn't under control. And these different angles here, these show how the 2 exit points at the first touch has got to be manipulated through. So there's 4 simple turns used to eliminate pressure behind in one touch. The first is the outside. So the hips and shoulders, they stay flat and square as late as possible to hide the intent. Manipulate the ball off the line that it travels using the outside of the foot, and use your body to roll the pressure and create that space separation. And the second turn's the inside. So same principles of disguise, but technically open and close the ankle, hiding that intent. Turn 3 is the drag. So rotate your hips and pull the ball off that line with the inside or the sole. And then turn 4 is the disguise, which splits into either a fake change of direction, which is dipping of the shoulders and hips to make an opponent think you're going to move one way, or a fake pass, an example being our other video, so the Tiago turn. Now, if you aren't able to outplay in one touch, then once you've had that touch and there isn't an immediate passing solution, you have to stay on the ball 1v1. Now, some players, they'll pin and they'll hold the opponent, but the true difference makers, the real press-resistant individuals, they'll twist and turn to outplay, they'll consistently find that way to play forward in those moments, really eliminating pressure. So let's strip the process right back. Outplaying techniques begin with a series of specific unopposed moves, and these are detailed in my webinar series, but they should be completely mastered first, developing specific agility and coordination as the tools to outplay your opponent. So see this as laying the foundations. Now, I always say to players, efficiency comes in practicing 7 moves 1,000 times each, as opposed to practicing 1,000 moves 7 times each. Now, these moves, they're all fake passes, and they begin with a series called the Super 7, moving through random order, semi-opposed pressure, and finishing with fully opposed 1v1 games. Now, mastering defender behind, it's got to include other variables along that journey, such as multiple exit points, receiving over longer, realistic distances, so not just short ones where your body's already protecting from the opponent. First touch manipulation to then move the opponent, a combination of receiving scenarios and body positioning to create that distance separation and protection. And defender behind often comes from frontal 1v1s because the pressure changes in a millisecond, because frequently you move the ball to the side and move the opponent there before then using hooks, cuts and drags to eliminate that pressure. So let's give a quick overview then. So You're receiving a pass from deep and you press from behind, which effectively is any position except for centre back. You've got two options. Use the speed and momentum of the pass to turn first time, using either the three surfaces or disguise, or once you've taken that touch, you're then in that 1v1 retaining battle until a free player is available. So as you can see with these clips, these are loads of examples of exercises used higher up that ladder, so fully opposed, to encourage twisting and turning and outplaying under pressure. And that concludes the video on pressure behind and becoming press resistant. So for more videos and webinars, please visit www.trainingspecific.com.